veterans everywhere, our good, brave men and women of the armed services, especially today. We say thank you, job well done. We're also going to take time, of course, today to bring you up to date on the news of the day that typhoon, called the worst storm in history anywhere, anytime, has wrecked the Philippines, leaving as many as 10,000 dead, maybe more, and now hitting Vietnam. Chris Christie on the cover of Time magazine called the elephant in the room. He doesn't care if they're making fun of his weight. He loves the attention. He's definitely looking at 2016, but Rick Perry and some other conservatives are saying a Republican who wins in New Jersey can't be considered a conservative. He could never win a Republican primary nationwide. And a big embarrassment for CBS for the first time ever. 60 Minutes has been forced to admit that they published a wrong story about Benghazi, identified a witness who said he was at the scene when in fact he was not at the scene. He was a great big fat liar, and 60 Minutes fell for it. That's what happens when the media gets involved in partisan politics. We'll cover that, all that, and more. You can give us a call anytime at 866-55-PRESS. Join the conversation on our morning town hall, The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids
you.
how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
To all of our veterans, all of our men and women in uniform now serving, we say Happy Veterans Day and thank you. Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? Here we go. Hey, for us, it's just another work day. I don't know about you. Happy Veterans Day and happy Monday, November 11. Good to see you today, and it's good to be back with you out on the West Coast on Friday down in Orange County, California. And thanks to Rich Masters for filling in here with our entire team. Good to see you this morning. We are coming to you, as always, from our nation's capital and our studio right here on Capitol Hill. We're right in the heart of the action to the extent that there is any action in Washington, D.C. Not much these days. But we got our eye on what's happening right down the street here at the United States Capitol building. We also have our eye on what's happening down at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, of course, at the White House. We cover them both, as well as what's happening around the country and around the globe, keeping our eye on that horrible, horrible devastation. And I've never seen anything like that typhoon that whipped through the Philippines. Winds at 180 miles an hour. Can you imagine? Whoa. Anyhow, we'll bring you up to date on everything that's going on this morning in the time that we have together. And most importantly, we want to hear from you what it all means to you, to your family, to your community. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Join us on Twitter. Send us your comments on Twitter, I should say, at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. We got the whole team here back this morning. Peter Ogburn. Hello, Peter.
Happy Monday.
Everything good?
Yes, indeed. We're back.
Good weekend.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Had a wonderful time.
With Alicia Cruz there. She's got the phones covered this morning, waiting for your calls. And, we are coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station. And again, we send a big shout out and a thank you to all of our stations nationwide, every one of them and every one of you. We are also seen and carried on Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV, if you have a satellite dish, you can find it on DirecTV or the Dish Network. And you can also catch us and watch the video online at TawkrTV, TawkrTV. It's youtube.com/TawkrTV. And if we're looking good on the video, that's the good work of Cyprian Bolding, our videographer. Thank you, Cyprian. And
it has nothing to do with us.
Exactly.
The fact that we look so good. That's all Cyprian.
No, he takes it and then distorts it.
Yes.
And makes it look good.
Yes, exactly.
He does turn a Salzier into a silk purse. Well, we can't talk about the World Series anymore. We have to go. We're into football season, but there was some exciting stuff going on, particularly the big game between the Ravens, who ultimately won, and the Bengals. But the big moment of the game yesterday, those of you who saw it, was fourth quarter. 15 seconds ago, I guess, right?
No time. Clock had run out. It was like 2 seconds to throw this pass.
And the Bengals quarterback, they're down by a touchdown. He throws literally a Hail Mary pass, 52 yards into the end zone. And wouldn't you know it, it was caught and forced the game into overtime. Here's the call on Cincinnati's home station, WCKY.
Dalton heaves it down the right side toward the end zone. It is knocked up in the air. A.J. Green makes the catch.
Oh, man!
A deflected ball winds up in the hands of A.J. Green as the clock hits zero. A 52-yard Hail Mary is answered as Andy Dalton does have the arm into the wind, and now an extra point by Mike Nugent could force overtime.
Unbelievable.
I think they're happy about that.
Wow!
I get the impression that, At any rate, the game went into overtime, and the Ravens ended up
the Ravens
winning.
won.
So, that
they weren't that excited
but
about
for a
that.
moment of glory there, and joy.
It was wild,
for the fans of Cincinnati. All right, hey, coming up here, lots to cover this Monday morning. Democratic strategist Peter Fenn, good friend of ours, will be along as a friend of Bill in our last hour together this morning. We also are going to be joined this hour by Matt Vasilogambros from the National Journal on the news of the day, and Hadas Gold from Politico here to take a look at some of the big media stories of the day. And we will start with an embarrassing moment, big embarrassing moment for CBS and 60 Minutes. But first,
this is the
All right.
Press.
Just a few other things making news today. It's in the hole. The president golfed his 150th round of golf as president over the weekend, and he did it in style.
Hole-in-one?
No, not exactly. He was in Florida, and he went to the Grand Oaks Golf Club with NBA star Alonzo Mourning, his friend Cyrus Walker, and former U.S. Trade Rep Ron Kirk. Now, to many golfers and movie aficionados, Grand Oaks is a special club. That's where they filmed the movie Caddyshack in 1980. So the fact that the President of the United States played there is now the second most interesting thing about the club.
Yeah, and not number one either, number two.
Right, exactly. Yeah, make that clear. Here's an idea we hope never takes off. There is a movement growing in Europe in which tattoo artists...
He played in the rain, by the way. There was a lot of rain.
Well, you know what happens when they play in the rain in the movie Caddyshack. The priest gets struck by lightning. So we know that chorus has claimed one life already.
That's right.
Here's one idea we hope never takes off. There is a movement growing in Europe in which tattoo artists are trying to reclaim the swastika. First, a little background. Before the Nazis started using it, the swastika was seen as a sign of peace in Hinduism and Buddhism. And then, of course, when the Nazis adopted it, it took on a much different meaning. But there are 5 tattoo parlors in Europe who are starting an initiative called Take Back the Swastika this week. And they are offering free tattoos to anyone just as long as they get a tattoo of a swastika.
I think it's too late for that.
I agree. I think that train has left the station.
Right, yeah. No way.
And Bill, would you pay $176 for a drink?
Of course.
Of course you would. Well, the Langham Place Hotel in New York City is hoping that someone will. They unveiled a new cocktail called the Quattroport that will set you back $176. It's a cocktail made of Aperol, Amaro Nonino, Plymouth Gin, stirred and strained into a flute of Krug champagne. Now, that sounds like a nice drink, but where does the $176 price tag comes from? That comes from what happens after you have the drink. You get a ride in a Maserati that is capable of going as fast as 176 miles per hour, and it will take you anywhere you want to go within Manhattan. $176. So you get a drink and then a ride home.
Yeah, but you still are going to go probably 13 miles an hour in Manhattan because of the traffic.
I don't know where you could go that fast in Manhattan.
There's no place in Manhattan that you could open up that car. So it's ridiculous.
There you go.
Anybody pays for that has just too much money. We're going to raise their taxes. Hey, what do you say? Good morning, everybody. Yes, a colossal embarrassment. So we wanted to start this morning with CBS and 60 Minutes. And, look, we all know 60 Minutes. You say 60 Minutes in the journalism world and the world of radio and television. I mean, you're talking the gold standard. That's it, right? 60 Minutes, been around since 1968. And it has been the place that you could always depend on for the most solid reporting, for the best journalists, the people who dare to go anywhere and take on any story and to bring us the truth, as they have done consistently. Mike Wallace and Dan Rather at his time of glory, Leslie Stahl and others throughout the years who have been such great reporters. I know I'm not doing credit to all of the ones who were there. Breaking news, many times. They've won so many Emmys and awards for their journalism, you can't count them. In-depth, exclusive interviews, so many of them again. I mean, you could write books have been written about the success of 60 Minutes. Again, the gold standard in journalism until just a week or so ago, when October 27th, to be exact, when 60 Minutes fell into a big hole and got suckered in by Republican propaganda and decided that they were going to join the Republican forces trying to blame what happened at Benghazi on the night of September 11, 2012, tried to blame that on President Obama, not on the terrorists who attacked our consulate, but on President Obama, or as a second best on then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. This, of course, is the disgusting, purely, blatantly political game that Republicans have played since then, which we have talked about so many times on this show. Again, rather than blame the terrorist and try to go after them, right, they've put the whole blame on President Obama, saying somehow that he made the decision, we're just going to leave this embassy, consulate, totally unprotected, and so that terrorists can easily come in, have an easy target. And they've turned the death of those 4 Americans, including our ambassador, Chris Stevens, into a political football. And the leader of which, of course, that whole campaign has been Lindsey Graham, with the help of Fox News, which still talks about this incident every single day, and with the help of people like Darrell Issa and others who have held, I don't know, almost as many hearings on Benghazi as they have held on the IRS or on Obamacare. At any rate, 60 Minutes ought to know better. Yeah, instead, they fell into this trap, and what happened is they took one of these, the people that Republicans were saying, this is the guy that's telling the truth. This is the guy that's telling the truth. His name is Dylan Davies. He was a security official working for, I believe, the State Department, working for the federal government at any rate, in Libya. And he had some story which Republicans were saying, this is the guy you got to trust, this guy. And CBS trusted him, and they put him on the air, and it turns out that everything he said was a big, fat lie. He told 60 Minutes that he was there that night, that he heard there was trouble. He raced to the embassy. He picked up a gun, and he knocked one terrorist in the head, that he saw the body of Ambassador Chris Stevens dead there on the site or in a hospital. So at least he saw his body. It turns out he had told the FBI under oath an entirely different story. He was never even at the embassy that night. Not there. Couldn't get there. Couldn't get close. Wasn't there. And he told CBS an absolute lie, and they went on the air with it. And last night, Lyra Logan, the reporter who brought the story, had to issue this apology. It's long, but you got to listen to the whole thing.
We end our broadcast tonight with a correction on a story we reported October 27th about the attack on the American Special Mission Compound in Benghazi, in which Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other Americans were killed. In the story, a security officer working for the State Department, Dylan Davies, told us he went to the compound during the attack and detailed his role that night. After our report aired, questions arose about whether his account was true when an incident report surfaced. It told a different story about what he did the night of the attack. Davies denied having anything to do with that incident report and insisted the story he told us was not only accurate, it was the same story he told the FBI when they interviewed him. On Thursday night, when we discovered the account he gave the FBI was different than what he told us, we realized we had been misled, and it was a mistake to include him in our report. For that, we are very sorry. The most important thing to every person at 60 Minutes is the truth. And the truth is, we made a mistake.
Yeah, but here's the question. She says, after our report aired, this other report surfaced. Oh, no. It was known beforehand. It was known beforehand that this guy was talking out of both sides of his mouth. It was known beforehand. Questions had been raised by the administration, by the State Department, that this guy could not be trusted. And yet 60 Minutes went ahead and put his story on the air. Shame on them. But my question now is, will the media finally accept the facts at Benghazi and stop trying to play politics just like the Republicans are with the story? Because Republicans, by the way, took the 60 Minutes story. Lindsey Graham said, this proves that everything we've been doing, everything we've said is right. Look, it's 60 Minutes even confirms what we've been saying. And they're all liars together. So that's my question to you. Do you think the media will finally accept the facts about Benghazi and stop trying to make it a political football and stop trying to help the Republicans on this? And do you think the Republicans will finally accept the truth and focus on getting the people who committed this attack on our embassy and killed those 4 Americans rather than try to use it as a political football against Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it. 60 Minutes. Shame on CBS. 866-55-77377.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour now here on a Monday morning. By the way, it's safe to walk outside now. Okay? I mean, I know all last night, everybody was afraid to walk outside because that damn satellite, 2,000-pound satellite was coming down, and you didn't know where it was going to land. I mean, scientists had no idea where it was going to break up, but it ended up on this flight. I was reading over Siberia, the Indian Ocean, with not a lot of people anyhow, and 75% of it burned up, and 25% of it, pieces of it, fell to Earth. But I know we were the only people there when it fell to Earth. We got that recording.
Right? Yeah, we were there. We were there.
If a tree falls in the forest, at any rate, but there were no reports of any injuries. Didn't strike anybody. No damage done. No homes destroyed. So we ducked. we cheated death again. But right now we're talking about 60 minutes. What a colossal embarrassing moment for the great network and a great show. But they walked right into this political trap. They should have known better. Didn't do their homework. Steve, caller from Hollywood, California. Hey, Steve, do you think it's going to make any difference?
Hi, Bill. Great show as usual.
Thank you.
The first thought that occurred to me when this was first disclosed a few days ago was, remember when they blew away top reporter and anchor Dan Rather out the door back in around 2004, which was for a similar incident that was not correct, but it was nowhere near as serious as this.
Absolutely. No. That was the whole thing about George Bush's National Guard service or something, but that was the end of Dan Rather, and yet the essence of what he reported, as I recall, was correct, right?
That's exactly right. This is totally bogus with a so-called witness that was completely unreliable and should have been vetted much better before they put it on the air. So my basic question is, it'll be interesting to see what management does to replicate what they did to great anchor Dan Rather.
Good point, Steve. Hey, thanks for listening on K-Talk. I love it. I was listening to K-Talk when I was in Southern California over the weekend. Great affiliate out there. Proud to be part of their morning lineup. And yes, indeed. So will CBS make any changes? And will the Republicans finally get off this Benghazi trick and accept the truth? And the media stop playing footsie with it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Flick it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek, now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the product suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
There's lots to talk about this morning. Lots of interesting stories. You know, one of the most interesting... Well, first of all, let's go in order here. Just one final note about the Benghazi mess and this black eye for CBS. I mentioned how the Republicans were using of course, the Republicans started this political crap. CBS walked into the trap and got suckered in by the Republicans. I'm sure that there were some Republican operatives that brought this guy, Dylan Davies, to CBS and said, hey, do you hear what this guy is saying? You really ought to report on this. And CBS got suckered in, and they did it. And then the Republicans used the CBS report to say, you see, we were right all along. And the principal one who did that, that's the point I wanted to end with, is Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, who said, because of what 60 Minutes said, I'm going to hold up all of President Obama's nominations until I personally can interview all the witnesses who were there the night of Benghazi, the people that worked for us, who worked for the federal government, who happened to be there that night. The senator said that. So yesterday, he was asked on the Sunday morning shows, well, now that CBS admits that it was a big fat lie, are you going to retract your hold on all of President Obama's nominees? And of course, Lindsey Graham said, no, I'm not going to do that. No, because I'm a man and I put my hold on and I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, right. What a phony. What a total phony. That's the way it happened. He uses 60 Minutes to justify his hold. 60 Minutes admits it was wrong, but Lindsey Graham not going to change his stand. Just shows you, again, that this is all about politics. You hear Benghazi, think politics. That's all it is. Where what we ought to be thinking is attack, which turned out to be terrorist attack on our consulate, which just proves that we've got to do a better job of protecting our consulates and embassies, which the president has admitted. And we've got to go after the people who did it, track them down, find them, bring them to justice. That ought to be the focus. Benghazi. A couple of other things I want to mention because, on a Monday, so much happening over the weekend. Here's one of, I think, the best stories of the day, which is that Amazon has said, they've announced they're going to go to 7-day delivery. They're going to deliver anything you buy from Amazon. You can even get it delivered on Sunday at your front door, 7 days a week. And how are they going to do it? This is the best part. They're going to use the United States Postal Service system. They're going to use the men and women of the Postal Service and the trucks and the planes and the trains or whatever, the whole system. They're going to pay for enough of those workers and resources to enable them to deliver on Sunday. I think it's great.
Like it.
I think it's great. It's a real, you hear about it a lot, right? But this is a real public, private, public, whatever, a partnership. I'm not sure that we need 7-day-a-week delivery, to tell the truth. I mean, if I don't get it, I order a new book, which is all I buy from Amazon. If I don't get it on Saturday, I could usually wait until Monday. But I understand Jeff Bezos. I mean, he's a driving force in the business world. He wants to be the first to guarantee 7-day delivery. And rather than set up a whole system, because they can't use UPS or whatever, they usually do use a post office. They've just made a deal with the post office to use enough of their resources to have Sunday delivery.
I love that. That's great.
No, it is. It's a good move. The other news, political news, of course, is Chris Christie. Talk about hot. The hot story of the day, particularly of the week, particularly after he, overwhelmingly by 20 points, won re-election in New Jersey over Democrat Barbara Buono. He's the darling now of the media and the talk shows, and Chris Christie, of course, was on a couple of them yesterday morning, most notably on This Week with George Stephanopoulos, where he was asked. He's also on the cover of Time magazine, and George asked him about that because on the cover of Time magazine, a profile of Chris Christie, it's the second time this year he's been on the cover of Time magazine. Time magazine has a profile of Chris Christie with the headline, the legend, Elephant in the Room. Now, I mean, yeah, of course, because he's a Republican. That's why they call him an elephant.
That's why.
Not because he weighs as much as an elephant. Of course not. No. George Stephanopoulos asked him about that. Do you think Chris Christie's bothered? No way.
People in New Jersey are proud of me. Whatever they put on the cover of Time magazine, as long as my name's with it, I could care less.
That's right, man. They spell my name right. I'm a happy camper. And he says, here, people in New Jersey, they love it.
If they think that's clever, great for them. I mean, they run the magazine. They get to make the decisions. Here's the thing with the way the people in New Jersey look at this. Their governor's been on the cover of Time magazine twice in 1 year. We must be doing something right.
Hey, now, we don't have a lot of time, but give us a call quickly and tell me what you think. Do you think Chris Christie's for real? Do you think he's a real threat? Or do you think this is all just hype, right? I got to tell you, I got mixed feelings about Chris Christie. If I were in New Jersey, I would not have voted for him because I don't agree with his policies. But I think for the Republican Party, he's a better deal for the future of the Republican Party than a Ted Cruz or a Ken Cuccinelli, for God's sakes. 866-55-PRESS, particularly all of our good listeners up in the New Jersey area and viewers in New Jersey area, give us a call, 866-55-PRESS. Now, Chris Christie is also asked about 2016, of course, the inevitable question. Are you going to run for president? Or let's put it another way, are you going to, here's the classic, right, reporter's question to somebody who just got reelected as governor or mayor or whatever, and thinking about 2016. Are you going to finish your 4-year term?
I'm the governor of New Jersey. That's my job, and that's what I asked for 4 more years, and that's what I intend to do.
All 4 years?
Listen, who knows?
Perfect.
Who knows? In other words, no. Are you all 4 years? Oh, no. Are you crazy? Not if I can help it. That's exactly what he's saying. Look, the guy is, let's be honest, the guy is running for president. So do you think is he the savior of the Republican Party? And is he somebody that we liberals and progressives ought to be looking at? I mean, is he that good? And I say, no. Let's face it. Chris, it's all relative. Okay. Chris Christie's better than Ted Cruz. Chris Christie's better than Rand Paul, right? Chris Christie's better than Sarah Palin or Dick Cheney. But Chris Christie is still a conservative Republican. As I said, I wouldn't have voted for him in New Jersey because I disagree with his attack on teachers. I disagree with his trying to gut the public education system. I disagree with his attack on public employees. I disagree with his total opposition to marriage equality. There's no justification for discriminating against the LGBT community. Now, he gave up the fight in the end. That was politically smart of him. But just the fact that he didn't stand up and support equality under the Constitution of the United States is something that I could not support. And I can't forget, and I think this is going to come up way back in his early in his administration, he stood in the way. Remember that tunnel between New Jersey and New York? It is the one of the worst cases of failing infrastructure in this nation. The fact that between New Jersey and New York, there's only a one-track tunnel for freight and for passengers connecting those two. And this big project that Ray LaHood was pushing to enlarge that tunnel and think ahead for the future. And Chris Christie blocked it, refused to go along, refused to put any state money in there. A big setback for transportation and for high-speed rail in this nation. Again, Chris Christie. So for lots of reasons, I'm not on Chris Christie's side, but I do think for the Republicans, they're better off with somebody like Chris Christie than a Ted Cruz. 866-55-PRESS, Peter?
Yeah, just a quick note, because, we're on Twitter, at BP Show,
yes.
at BP Show, where we're taking your comments. Mama for Obama weighing in says Chris Christie is a threat, and Democrats had better take him seriously.
Absolutely.
Unlike the way they did with George W. Bush.
Yep. Good point. Mama for Obama is absolutely right on that. So another point that I was going to make is that, if you talk about somebody who could be a real no matter who the Democratic candidate is, right, in 2016, somebody could give them the run for the money, Chris Christie.
And Robbie Bright points out that Chris Christie might have an enemy in the Romney camp. They might start leaking their opposition research. Romney has no loyalty, so that's a possibility. You can find us on Twitter, by the way, at BP Show.
I wouldn't be surprised. And already Rick Perry has said, Chris Christie may have won in New Jersey, but a conservative who wins in New Jersey cannot win nationwide. But of course, you have to say that's Rick Perry. That's Rick Perry talking, and we know what a great candidate he was. When we come back on the news of the day, Matt Vasilogambros from the National Journal, and more of your calls.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad.
As a friend.
As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 13 minutes before the top of the hour now on a Monday morning, November 11, Veterans Day. Thanks for joining us, folks. It's a work day for us and for most of us in the media world here in Washington, D.C., including our good friends over at the National Journal. Correspondent Matt Vasilogambros joining us on our news line this morning. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Good morning. Yes, we do have to work today.
Another work day, huh? Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad we're not alone. And in fact, I think there are fewer and fewer people who have Veterans Day off. Just government employees. Matt, let's start with Chris Christie. He is the sort of the celebrity, political celebrity of the moment. At any rate, did he leave any doubt in your mind that he's looking at 2016?
You know, he says, he says that being governor is the job that he's always wanted, and that he plans on sticking through and everything. But he was on the Sunday shows, or folks were talking about him on the Sunday shows yesterday, and when they asked him whether or not he's going to serve all 4 years of his governorship, he says he doesn't know. So I guess that's a clue out there. But he's a very dangerous candidate for Democrats, and people are really excited about him. So obviously, with his huge win, and if you look at the demographic breakdowns, he's the candidate that we should all be looking out for.
Could he win a Republican primary?
See,
nationwide. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's the doubt. Republicans still say that the reason Mitt Romney lost was because he wasn't conservative enough, right? And so if you have a candidate like Christie, who is more moderate than some of the Tea Party members of the Republican Party, some folks in the conservative movement might not think that Christie is conservative enough. And when reporters ask Christie, are you a true conservative, or are you very conservative? He says, why should that matter? So he might, that might be an issue, but he has this attitude about him that he doesn't really care what people think, and folks might like that.
If you look at last Tuesday, all right, it seems to me. You look at Virginia, Ken Cuccinelli, New Jersey, Chris Christie. The message to the Republican Party is, here's a winning way and there's a losing way. But Tea Party people or conservatives don't see it that clearly, do they?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I heard that Rick Santorum is still thinking about running for president again, and that sort of Ted Cruz or even Rand Paul style conservative.
Yeah.
Folks are still folks in the base are still yearning for a very conservative candidate. And I don't think Chris Christie has that brand of conservatism. The Ken Cuccinelli brand of conservatism did not work, and people were very turned off by it.
But you know what I hear from conservatives about that, because I did a column about it last week, is, well, he almost won. Ken Cuccinelli, he almost won. Yeah, well, he almost won, but he lost, right? But they...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he still lost, yeah.
Let me ask you... on the continuing troubles the administration is having with the Affordable Care Act and the website, President Obama's apology Thursday. Very quickly, Peter, we can play this for you again, Matt, and for all of our listeners and viewers this morning. The president, a very rare moment to hear a president of the United States say something like this.
I am sorry that they are finding themselves in this situation based on assurances they got from me. We've got to work hard to make sure that they know we hear them and that we're going to do everything we can to deal with folks who find themselves in a tough position as a consequence of this.
Apology make any difference, Matt?
Yes, I think it makes some difference. The website was supposed to be the thing that was not supposed to. It wasn't supposed to be an issue. They were defending the law, and it was going to roll out, and this was just going to be the thing that proves what they were saying all along, that you are about to get some good insurance, that your health care plans you're going to be able to stick with your health care plans, and some of these things turned out not to be true, and I think he's generally frustrated that people think that he's not a trustworthy person. I mean, that was when you looked at the election and you looked at the numbers of who you find to be a trustworthy candidate. The president was always more trustworthy than Mitt Romney.
Absolutely, number one.
And his numbers were always really positive. So now that he sees his polling slipping and sees that people don't trust him anymore, I think that kind of resonated with him, and he wants to go back out in the public and tell people that he is this trustworthy person that you guys thought about all along, and that he is genuinely sorry that the law is not being portrayed as well as he thinks the law is, and so I think you're seeing a genuine moment from him in that he really wished that it would have gone better.
Well, and he's also particularly, I know, sorry, and got to be that that what should have been a triumphant moment. In other words, what the administration wanted to be doing right now is saying, look at this, all these people signing up. We told you, right? You make it available and people are going to flock to it. Instead, the story is, look at this monumental screw up, right? And so,
and with those numbers, I mean, those numbers are just heart-wrenching, single digits in certain states.
Yeah, right. They got to get that website fixed. They've got to. All right, Matt, make the most of it. Thanks so much for starting off with us this morning, as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks. Matt Vasilogambros with the National Journal. nationaljournal.com. Check it out.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, closing in on the first hour here together this Monday morning, November 11, Veterans Day. In the next hour, Politico reporter Hadas Gold here to talk about more about CBS and 60 Minutes on the big embarrassing moment. Meanwhile, Peter?
Yeah, this is a fascinating story that means a lot to the court system. For the first time ever, a prosecutor is going to go to jail for wrongfully convicting an innocent man. This is a prosecutor in Texas. His name is Ken Anderson, and he had evidence that could have cleared an innocent man, a man by the name of Michael Morton, could clear him for the murder of his wife, and this prosecutor chose not to disclose it. And he prosecuted the man anyway and sent him to jail. And when it was discovered that he had sort of suppressed that evidence, they're now sending this prosecutor for jail while the convicted man is going to go free.
So they're trading places.
Basically, yeah. He kept the cell warm for him.
I love that. Well, first good news about Texas I've heard in a long time.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? It is Monday, November 11th. It is Veterans Day today, and be sure to, whatever you're doing today, if you have the day off, or even if you don't have the day off, take time to salute those who have served our nation in uniform all the way from World War II, like my dad, all the way up to those serving today in Iraq and Afghanistan, and those who have come home and are with serious wounds and are out at Walter Reed Hospital, one of our veterans hospitals. Veterans everywhere are good, brave men and women of the armed services. Especially today, we say thank you, job well done. We're also going to take time, of course, today to bring you up to date on the news of the day that typhoon, called the worst storm in history anywhere, anytime, has wrecked the Philippines, leaving as many as 10,000 dead, maybe more, and now hitting Vietnam. Chris Christie on the cover of Time magazine called the elephant in the room. He doesn't care if they're making fun of his weight. He loves the attention. He's definitely looking at 2016, but Rick Perry and some other conservatives are saying a Republican who wins in New Jersey can't be considered a conservative. He could never win a Republican primary nationwide. And a big embarrassment for CBS for the first time ever. 60 Minutes has been forced to admit that they published a wrong story about Benghazi, identified a witness who said he was at the scene when in fact he was not at the scene. He was a great big fat liar, and 60 Minutes fell for it. That's what happens when the media gets involved in partisan politics. We'll cover that, all that, and more. You can give us a call anytime at 866-55-PRESS. Join the conversation on our morning town hall, The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Happy Veterans Day 2013, and we salute all of our men and women in uniform today and all of those who have served this great nation in uniform throughout the years from World War II all the way up to Iraq and Afghanistan. And good morning, everybody. For most of us, it's just another Monday. I hope you had a great weekend and rolling into a big new week, whether you've got the day off or not. Good to have you with us today as we tackle the big stories of the day, big and little stories of the day, here in our nation's capital. That's where you'll find us, right on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. We'll tell you what's going on here in our nation's capital, around the country, and around the globe. And best part of the program is we give you a chance to tell us what you think about it, what it all means to you and to your family and to your community. 866-55-PRESS. That's the toll-free number. Should have it on speed dial right now, by now. 866-55-77-377. On Twitter, you can send us your comments at BP Show, at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Thank you for joining us on your local progressive talk radio station all across this great land of ours. Thank you for joining us on Free Speech TV, on DirecTV or the Dish Network, and thank you for watching the video stream on TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Here we are on a Monday morning. Excuse me, with lots to talk about. That's why I have the whole team here this morning. Peter Ogburn.
Hey.
With Alicia Cruz on the phones. Hi, Alicia. And Cyprian Bolden keeping us looking good on the video cam. And by the way, a big thank you to Rich Masters for filling in on Friday while I was out on the West Coast. And we talked Thursday morning, I believe it was, my last day here, about the big bullying problem, scandal, controversy, whatever, around the Miami Dolphins between Jonathan Martin. No, not the Jonathan Martin who writes for the New York Times. J-Mart. That's J-Mart. The Jonathan Martin who used to play for the Miami Dolphins. And his teammate Richard Incognito, Martin accusing Incognito of bullying and making it so uncomfortable in the locker room that he could no longer stand to play with that team. He has walked away. Richard Incognito, finally, who everybody says is a big bully. That's his style. Some of the video, have you seen some of the video of this guy?
Man.
By the way, running around without his shirt off, I mean, anybody that big should not be running around without their shirt off.
Yeah.
And just raising hell and just being like a terror to be around. But he came out of the weekend and said, no. This was just all in good fun between the two of us, and we just love each other.
You can ask anybody in the Miami Dolphins locker room who had John Martin's back the absolute most.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll undoubtedly tell you me. All this stuff coming out just it speaks to the culture of our locker room. It speaks to the culture of our closeness. It speaks to the culture of our brotherhood.
Oh,
and
yeah, I love that.
The racism, the bad words,
Mm-hmm.
That's what I regret most, but that's a product of the environment, and that's something that we use all the time.
It's just our brotherhood. Yes, yeah.
I actually think
I used to, you know what, like a lot of brothers do. My brother and I fought, and I used to beat the crap out of my brother.
Right.
I wasn't exactly showing my love for him at the time.
Well, I mean,
brotherhood.
To be clear, like there is absolutely nothing okay about this story. No, but I mean, just but I do think he has a point when he says this is just how it is. Doesn't mean that it's right, but this is just the behavior that sort of has been bred inside these locker rooms.
Yes, but even in that situation, it's possible to go over the line.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
By everything I've read, Rich Incognito went
way over the line.
Over the line.
Yep.
And I think it's time for the coaches and management just to say, hey, kids, you know what? Grow up.
You're grown men.
You're grown men, Just get in there and play football.
Professional athletes have had their asses kissed by grown-ups since they were in high school.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so they haven't had to be grown-ups ever. They see this spark in these professional athletes when they're 14, 15 years old, sometimes younger.
Yeah. And you know what? It may be funny, but you go out to a big steak dinner and the bill is $30,000 and everybody puts in their credit card, right? You don't say to the rookie, okay, you've got to pay. When you're paying, you're making the least money of everybody. Here we go. Okay, so much for Richie Incognito. Coming up, Hadas Gold from Politico will be here at the half to talk about some of the big media stories around these days. Peter Fenn, a good friend of ours, Democratic strategist here, is a friend of Bill for the entire third hour, together with Kate Nocera, covers the Hill for Politico. And President Obama has apologized for comments for a claim that he made about the Affordable Care Act. Does that make any difference? But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a few other stories making news. Speaking of the NFL, let's go around the horn here and see how some teams fared. Bad news for the Packers, by the way. They are now down to their third-string quarterback after their backup to Aaron Rodgers was injured yesterday.
Oh, my God.
They lost to the Eagles. That was an ugly game. Also, the normally powerful Indianapolis Colts, they went down hard yesterday to the Rams, 38-8. And then in the late game last night, it was the New Orleans Saints versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Drew Brees was on a roll.
3rd and 6 from the 46. Brees wants it all. Throwing deep for Stills. Stills makes the catch at the 3 and walks in for the touchdown. Kenny Stills gets into the act on a 52-yard touchdown strike. He beat Jeff Heath for the score.
That was Jim Henderson on WWL in New Orleans. Final score of that game is New Orleans 49, Dallas 17.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah, it was a beatdown.
Dallas lose that big?
It was a beatdown, yeah. Big weekend at the box office for Thor. Marvel's sequel, Thor: The Dark World, took the top spot for the weekend box office. They pulled in $86 million here. That is a massive haul for early November. A lot of studios are sort of holding off until the Christmas season to release their movies. Meanwhile, Gravity continues to make moves. Over the weekend, they only made $8 million, but that was enough to push them over the $230 million threshold. That's how much that movie's made since it was released.
I want to try to see Gravity this afternoon.
Got to go see Gravity, Bill.
Yeah, I really want to see it.
Gravity.
Carol wants to see Captain Phillips.
Which I also hear is very good. I haven't seen Captain Phillips. If I were you, I'd make the push to go see Gravity. Because I don't think it's going to be in theaters much longer.
Maybe we'll go to the Cineplex and she can see one and I'll see the other.
That's how we do it, man. That's how we do it in my house. We go, we split up. It's in the hole. The president golfed for his 150th round over the weekend, and he did it in style. He was in Florida, and he went to the Grand Oaks Golf Club with former NBA star Alonzo Mourning and his friend Cyrus Walker, plus U.S. Trade Rep Ron Kirk. For many golfers and movie aficionados, Grand Oaks is a very special club. That's where they filmed the movie Caddyshack, which was released in 1980. So now the fact that the President of the United States played there is only the second most interesting thing about that golf club.
Is that 150 rounds of golf since he's been president?
Since he's been president.
I don't think I've played 150 rounds in my life.
No, I guess not. I mean, he's out there every week. No, I haven't. I surely haven't played 150 rounds. No, I know I haven't.
Yeah, no, but he's really into the game.
He's into the game, and he apparently wasn't much of a golfer before he became president.
No, he wasn't. But look, 4 hours away from the pressures of the office. Not that
I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm all for it.
Speaking of pressures of the office, a lot of it has popped up, of course, in the continuing saga over the Affordable Care Act, and it's interesting. When I was flying back from the West Coast on Saturday, I had to stop in Dallas for a change of planes. And when I did, I ran I'll tell you who boarded the plane, rather, in Dallas was Mr. Speaker, Mr. Crossfire, now Newt Gingrich, and his wife, Callista. And we were chatting briefly about a Crossfire, and Newt was saying, well, we'll talk more about Crossfires. With Hadas Gold, the new Crossfire with Hadas Gold, when she comes in for the second half hour. But at any rate, I did have to say, one thing, Newt, President Obama has given you the administration, lots of fodder, lots to talk about with the problems with the Affordable Care Act. And it wasn't supposed to be this way. I mean, this is supposed to be a moment of triumph where the administration would be saying, there it is. Well, for the last couple of years, it's been, well, Obamacare, we're just getting up and running. We're just getting ready because the big moment's going to come in 2014 when the doors open and 36 million Americans can rush in and get their insurance, and then it's all going to be fixed, and everybody's going to see what a great plan this is. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way for a couple of reasons. I'm not saying this is the end of Obamacare. I'll get to that in just a minute. No way, no how. But this moment of triumph has been tarnished by two problems. One, the problem with the website, which we talked about so much here, and it's just inexcusable. I mean, they just didn't do the right job. They didn't have the right people. They didn't test the damn thing. And so instead of stories about all the success of people signing up, we've got stories about the website being shut down every night. They're trying to fix it. They're bringing experts in from the insurance industry. And every day it's getting a little better, but there's still stories about people who can't get through, and then they got to use a telephone call, and then they're put on hold. They're going to get it fixed. It should never have happened. Got to get it fixed by the end of November, and then people, hopefully, there'll be a flood of new applicants. That was the first problem. The second problem then turned out to be that what the president originally said about how if you had your own doctor and you had your own insurance and you liked it, you didn't have to worry about a thing. We remember how many times he said that.
So let me be clear. If you like your doctor or health care provider, you can keep them. If you like your health care plan, you can keep that too.
First, no matter what you've heard, if you like your doctor or health care plan, you can keep it.
Yep.
If you don't have insurance, you'll finally be able to afford it.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
Period. No, that was not exactly correct. Now we learn that under the Affordable Care Act, if you have a health care plan, which is a substandard plan, you're going to have to make a change for a couple of reasons. Number one, the insurance companies, remember this is still a private insurance company plan. The insurance companies see a chance to make some more money, get some more money out of you for a better plan. Number one. Number two, the Affordable Care Act has certain standards, and a lot of these plans don't meet the standards. They don't cover hospital care, for example. So they're crappy plans. They shouldn't be allowed to continue. So recognizing that reality, finally, about 2 weeks after this story broke, and the media just pounding it every single day at our White House briefings, that's all people want to talk about. Finally, the president, Thursday, in an interview with Chuck Todd from NBC, said, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't really tell people the truth.
I am sorry that they are finding themselves in this situation based on assurances they got from me. We've got to work hard to make sure that they know we hear them and that we're going to do everything we can to deal with folks who find themselves in a tough position as a consequence of this.
Unfortunately, what most people aren't reporting, the administration hasn't done a good job, I don't think, of explaining is that these people who are forced to lose their existing insurance and then get something that really is worth it also qualify for a federal subsidy now. So they will end up getting a better plan, and they could end up getting a better plan and better coverage for less money because of the federal subsidy. And the bottom line is, and I love your comments on this, 866-55-PRESS. Do you think finally, people are going to see the truth about the Affordable Care Act? 866-55-PRESS. But the bottom line is, look, we still have to recognize this is a good program. This is a great program. This is a good plan. This is as close as we've ever gotten to universal coverage and universal health care. We're not there yet. But this is way, way down the road where we were. This will enable every American family to have basic quality health insurance for themselves, for their kids, not to have to worry about somebody in their family being in an accident, getting a serious illness. This is something we've been working for 100 years. So this is a good program. It's going to get better. It's going to survive. And when these problems like this pop up, what we should be focusing on is how to mend it, not how to end it. Let's fix Obamacare, make it right, make it better. 866-55-PRESS. Do you think it's going to survive? What's your experience? Will people finally focus on let's get it right rather than let's try to end it?
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, talking about the Affordable Care Act here on Monday, November 11. Have we turned the corner with the president's apology? Have we turned the corner and finally get the focus on making it work rather than the stupid Republican idea that we're ever going to kill it or should? Donald's calling from out in Chicagoland. Hey, Donald, how are you?
Hi, Bill. I don't think this thing's going to get fixed in November, and not only that, even if it did, too much damage is done, and I don't think the media is ever going to ever give this president any kind of credit at all.
Ooh, God, I hope you're wrong. You may be right. You don't think they're going to get don't you think they brought all the resources they can here?
Yeah, but you know something, Bill, it seems like the media really, we need the media to really give a lift to this, to the Affordable Care Act. I watched Crossfire a couple of days ago, and this one girl was with what's his name, Norquist and some other guy. They literally tore into her, especially about the Obamacare. I was only hoping that Papantonio and Schultz was on facing these two guys and let them tear them up. The American people are not listening. They don't deserve a health care system. They deserve, sheep should be shorn, and the American people deserve to go right back to the way they were, getting screwed by the insurance companies.
Well, I'll tell you that would happen if we get rid of if they succeed. Donald, I'm not as pessimistic as you are, but I do agree. The media's got to tell the truth on this, and which is like any big program. This one got off to a rocky start. Too bad that it did. It shouldn't have, but it did. But the program itself is still very, very important and badly needed by the American people. Sam is out in Lakewood, California. Lakewood, California. Hey, good morning.
Hey, Bill. Guess what? Karen Bass, she's a congresswoman out here in Los Angeles.
Yes.
I don't know what district. She had a big event yesterday, all kinds of screenings, this and that. She also had to sign up for the Affordable Care Act. It's called Cover California out here.
Yes.
I sat down with a lady. You had, right on the spot. They got you to a person. Sit down with them with their computer. They process.
That is great. That's good to know, Samuel. I didn't know that. And by the way, what a smart thing I think your cell phone just gave out there. What a smart thing for Karen Bass to do. She's a very, very effective former Speaker of the California Assembly, very effective member of Congress. And as a good friend of our program, she's been here in the studio with us several times. So good for Karen Bass and good for Jerry Brown in California. When we come back, Hadas Gold from Politico joins us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms. Cubism, symbolism, futurism, constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, Veterans Day, 2013, November 11. What do you say, everybody? Good to have you with us. It is The Bill Press Show, coming to live from our nation's capital and brought to you today by the United Steelworkers and their international president, Leo Gerard. The good men and women of the Steelworkers Union. 1.2 million active and retired members strong. And you can find more about their good work, at their website, usw.org, usw.org. Now here we're talking, we're going to be joined shortly by Hadas Gold, Politico reporter on the media. We're talking right now, though, about the Affordable Care Act and whether or not after President Obama apologized Thursday for comments that he had made that people who already have health insurance wouldn't have to worry about losing it. Turned out not to be true. Whether we've turned the corner now and people will focus finally on making it work rather than trying to this futile attempt to try to end it. The man, of course, in charge with making the website work is Jeff Zients, who is a very sharp guy. He will be President Obama's chief economic advisor come January. He's been given this task now of fixing the website, and he pledges it'll be done by November 31, end of November. Just one kind of sidebar. The New York Times front page story this morning, a little profile of Jeff Zients. It doesn't come out of the IT world, but he had written a report back in 2010 because he was on a task force that President Obama appointed to streamline the federal government. And I've seen him in the briefing room. He gave us a briefing on those attempts to kind of get some of the fat out of the bureaucracy. And when that report came out, here's what Jeff Zients said. Listen to this. Doesn't this sound like he was predicting exactly what happened with the Affordable Care Act? His report said the government, quote, largely has missed out on the information technology revolution. IT projects too often cost hundreds of millions of dollars more than they should, take years longer than necessary to deploy, and deliver technologies that are obsolete by the time they are completed. Jeff Zients wrote that in 2010, and he is living it in 2013. So will we now get the focus on fixing it, mending it, making the Affordable Care Act work after the president's apology? I ask again. Michael is calling from Dublin, Virginia. Michael, what do you say? Good morning.
Yes. Hey, Bill, I don't even believe that this should have been put in place yet. If I was in charge, working out there in charge of a company, and I put out a program that didn't work, I would be fired. I think that this was all just a distraction in the first place. This is a question, we're going to hold up the budget because of the Obamacare. It wasn't ready. We can do a lot better. The American people can do, the American people deserve better. We deserve for our policymakers, so to speak, to actually do a great job in looking after us who make money for them.
You know, Michael, I agree with you. And you're right. If this happened in the private sector, somebody would have been fired like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you think President Obama should do now? I mean, he's got to be pissed off at this because it makes his whole program, his number one program, look bad. But what are the options? You can't just drop the whole act, right?
Yeah, well, the only thing that I think should happen right now or is that for the American people to absolutely wake up and change the whole subject, because it doesn't matter. We need to be looking at our preventive care. You know, GMO foods, the genetically modified foods, that's causing a lot of the sickness, the atmosphere, climate change. That's causing...
Yeah, well, preventive care is part of the Affordable Care Act. Again, I guess, what are the president's options, you know? The Republicans say, just kill Obamacare. You can't do that.
Well, it doesn't matter because the American people... I think the Republicans have the right idea, actually, in killing it. But it's not a Democratic problem or Republican problem. It's an American problem.
It is an American problem. Let me tell you, Michael, I disagree with you. You only make the problem worse if you kill it. I mean, the worst thing you can do is kill it, and then you put us back to where we've been for the last 100 years? No way. No freaking way. Jeff, calling from Hartford, Connecticut. Hey, Jeff. Jeff, are you there? Hello, Jeff. Peter, what's going on? No? We lost Jeff. Okay.
Yeah, we lost Jeff.
All right, good enough. How are we doing with Hadas Gold?
She's coming in just a second. We do have Jerry in Las Cruces, New Mexico, if you want to try that.
All right.
Hey.
Hey, Jerry, glad you're there. What's up?
Hey, talked to you a long time ago, Bill.
I know, I missed you. Where the hell you been?
Hey, listen, have any of your crew been to the ACA website?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I have.
Yes, right.
Did you read the helpful information? Did you know that once you get your subsidy, once you know your amount of your subsidy, and if you do not use your entire subsidy to pay for the health care plan that you want, and you have children in your house under 19 years of age, you can apply what's left of your subsidy to a dental plan for your children?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's on the frequently asked questions. And not only that, but listen to this. This. I'm having trouble believing this right now by myself. My wife and I are owner-operators. We own our own truck, and we're over-the-road truckers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I still cannot shop for insurance on the website, but I got signed up and everything. But I went to the 800 number to find out what my subsidy was.
Yeah.
Now, get this. My subsidy is $1,000, and we earn between $35,000 and $40,000 a year, you know, depending. But my subsidy is $1,029 a month. My wife's is $1,029 a month. $2,060 a month. We don't pay that much right now for our insurance. You know, and whatever we don't use, we claim back on our taxes.
So you're getting $2,000 a month to buy health insurance. You and your wife, right?
Right, and we checked in the premium Blue Cross Blue Shield plan for me and my wife, which is called the Platinum 500.
Yeah.
Is going to run us just over $1,500 a month.
Wow. So you know what? A story like that, Jerry, I appreciate your call, Jerry. A story like that. But, you know, I think this is what the administration ought to be doing. They ought to be telling everyday success stories with the Affordable Care Act. It's the only way to counter all the bad stories and the bad news and the scare stories that are really coming out of the media and the Republicans in the House of Representatives particularly. At any rate, Affordable Care Act, I think, is here to stay. I think they will fix it and should. Appreciate your calls on that topic. As we've been telling you, we wanted to get into some of the big media stories of the day. Hadas Gold is a reporter covering the media, working with Dylan Byers, their chief media correspondent at Politico. Good morning, Hadas. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Thanks for coming back in.
Of course.
So let's start with the biggest media story of the day, 60 Minutes, something very unusual last night. Now, this is a long clip, but Lara Logan, at the end of 60 Minutes last night, actually apologized for a story that they had reported on October 27 about Benghazi. Here is Lara Logan.
We end our broadcast tonight with a correction on a story we reported October 27th about the attack on the American Special Mission Compound in Benghazi, in which Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other Americans were killed. In the story, a security officer working for the State Department, Dylan Davies, told us he went to the compound during the attack and detailed his role that night. After our report aired, questions arose about whether his account was true when an incident report surfaced. It told a different story about what he did the night of the attack. Davies denied having anything to do with that incident report and insisted the story he told us was not only accurate, it was the same story he told the FBI when they interviewed him. On Thursday night, when we discovered the account he gave the FBI was different than what he told us, we realized we had been misled, and it was a mistake to include him in our report. For that, we are very sorry. The most important thing to every person at 60 Minutes is the truth. And the truth is, we made a mistake.
Very unusual, first of all, for 60 Minutes to admit they made a mistake. How often does that happen?
I mean, everybody right now is thinking of 2004 when Dan Rather came forth with these documents about George W. Bush's National Guard service. That's the last time anybody can really think of like this huge bombshell type of revelation coming from a 60 Minutes story. So it's a really big deal. It's also incredibly embarrassing. I mean, now this guy's book is going to be pulled, and the book is being published by actually a company that's owned by CBS, Simon & Schuster. So it's a huge embarrassment for CBS as a company.
What happens? Dan Rather was fired. Well, he eventually lost his job.
Right. A lot of people are asking those questions. I mean, Dan Rather was not technically fired.
Correct.
And it was not immediately after what happened. And
but it was the beginning of the end.
It was the beginning. I don't see this as the beginning of the end for Lara Logan. She's young. She's popular. She does do good work. And unlike Dan Rather, who to this day is standing behind the story of George W. Bush's military service, Lara Logan has come out already, as we've seen now, and says this was wrong. We were misled. But it does bring up a lot of questions of how does CBS and 60 Minutes follow a story like this for a full year, as they say they did, and still somehow within the span of 2 weeks have the story fall apart.
And it raises a question for me, too. I mean, she says there in her apology, after our broadcast, there were stories, there were suspicions, and there were rumors about Dylan Davies. We all had heard before their broadcast, and they either missed it or ignored it. What does this mean for 60 Minutes? And what does it mean for the Republicans who cited the 60 Minutes broadcast as proof that we were right about Benghazi? And now 60 Minutes says they're wrong. Will Republicans say they're wrong? Hadas Gold here from Politico. Join the conversation. We'll continue here on the other side at 866-55-PRESS.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819 Dartmouth College versus Woodward Supreme Court case turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886 Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment, and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour, the mighty 60 Minutes admitting it was dead wrong about Benghazi, pulling its report and issuing a rare apology last night. Hadas Gold covers the media for Politico, along with Dylan Byers and Mackenzie Winger. And she is here in studio with us this morning. Hadas, again, good to have you back. By the way, in the next hour, Democratic strategist Peter Fenn will be joining us as a friend of Bill with the help of Kate Nocera, who covers the Hill for Buzzfeed.
And one of our old colleagues.
Yeah, is that
That's right, yeah.
That's right, at Politico, huh? You know,
Yes.
There you go. So back to 60 Minutes. They have such a great reputation because they really do have very exacting standards, or have had in the past, right? About checking and double checking. Now, you worked there as an intern, so I mean, tell us about the kind of pressure you were under there.
Well, it's a totally different world at 60 Minutes. It's a weekly news magazine that gets the luxury of spending a lot of time on stories, which in the day-to-day life of today's news media, nobody really gets to do.
Right.
And as Lara has said, they spent a year on this story, which is unheard of in many other news industries. It also exists in a silo, the 60 Minutes portion of CBS News. Even in the D.C. office, the offices are in a separate building than the rest of the CBS Washington, D.C. bureau. They used to be overseen by an executive for standards that left in the last year, and that person's role has not really been fulfilled. The person who took over hasn't been given the same type of editorial control. So this what we saw recently may have been a result of those situations, being by themselves in a silo, no one's really overlooking them. 60 Minutes, Dylan learned in his reporting that they didn't really reach out to anybody outside of 60 Minutes to help verify Dylan Davies' account. They were really just putting their full trust into this man.
Dylan Davis gave a totally different story to the FBI. He told 60 Minutes that he was there on the scene. He rushed to the scene. He picked up a gun and knocked one of the terrorists in the head with a gun. He saw the body of Ambassador Chris Stevens and other details. He had told the FBI that he was nowhere near the scene.
He also told his own security contractor that he was not there. So there are two accounts.
Right. Yeah, that's
two
right.
separate accounts. of him saying he was not there.
Now, how did 60 Minutes not know that? How could they not know that?
So they say that Dylan Davies told them that he purposely lied in at least the security contract account that he gave because he was afraid, because he wasn't allowed to leave. But that he had actually left. And then he actually told them that the FBI account would corroborate his story that he was telling them. And it wasn't until the New York Times actually reported on it that that was not actually the case that CBS came out and apologized.
I can't believe it. So he admitted he had lied to his contractor.
Yes.
And they put him on the air as if he were telling the truth. Having already admitted that he lied to one person.
I mean, his story was like 80% there. He was a contractor there. He was there in Benghazi. He did know Ambassador Stevens. So you can see how they're almost there. And then, he says he lied.
To what extent was 60 Minutes bowing to pressure from the Republican Party to corroborate what they were trying to say, which is this is all President Obama's fault?
I don't think they were bowing to the Republican Party. I think they were following what was the biggest story of the day, and Benghazi was a huge story and still is, yes.
But it was a huge, it was a huge story because Republicans were making it a big story, again, trying to blame Hillary or President Obama and holding all these hearings, not trying to find out who did it, but trying to
So it was in the news a lot, and so I think 60 Minutes likes to be kind of the judge of history and goes in and tells the truth, like they say. And I mean, I don't think this is going to help or hurt really Republicans at the end of the day, because to them, the question of what happened in Benghazi is still there. This guy's account doesn't really say anything in terms of like how quickly other forces could have gotten there. I mean, his was more of a like what I saw, eyewitness type of account. He's not like a senior Defense Department official who could have actually directed anything. If anything, they say that his account shows how quickly somebody could have gotten there, which people kind of knew already.
Quickly, one other story that you reported on this weekend about Stars and Stripes.
Right.
Historic, classic military newsletter. In trouble? Why?
It's in trouble because as we've seen the wars draw down over the past 10 years or so, at the same time, technology has really ramped up. I mean, the way a soldier can get their news now versus the way they could have gotten it in 2001 when they first entered Afghanistan is worlds apart. And so Stars and Stripes has not only been facing the regular pressures of any news media organization of going into the digital world and trying to figure out how to balance print and digital, they also have somebody called the Pentagon who is thinking, why should we spend millions of dollars on something that nobody really uses anymore?
Yeah, they can just go online, right, and get all the news. They can even go to TawkrTV and watch the Bill Press Show in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Exactly.
And watch Hadas Gold here as a guest. Thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Always good to see you. Say hello to Dylan McKenzie.
I will do so.
And we'll be back to tell you what the president's up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, well, still lots to talk about, and we've got a big third hour coming up. I know we're going to lose you on Free Speech TV. That's too bad, but you can still follow us online at TawkrTV. Don't forget how to do it. YouTube.com/Tawker, TAWKR, TawkrTV. Peter Fenn, Democratic strategist, will be here for the entire hour as a friend of Bill. We'll be joined by Kate Nocera, who covers the Hill for Buzzfeed. Exciting third hour coming up. Stay with us.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms: Cubism, Symbolism, Futurism, Constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity, and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You bet it is, and it's 3 minutes now before the top of the hour. Hour number 3 coming up with Peter Fenn here, Democratic strategist, here for the entire hour. As a friend to Bill, always fun to have Peter Fenn in the studio. We'll talk about New Jersey, talk about Chris Christie, talk about Virginia, what it all means. We'll be joined also by Kate Nocera, who covers the Hill for Buzzfeed, and see what we might expect from the House and the Senate, both back in session this week. For the president today, he will be commemorating Veterans Day, starting with a breakfast at the White House for members of the military and their families. And then at 11 o'clock, he will go, as he has every year, over to Arlington National Cemetery with the First Lady, with the Vice President, and with Dr. Jill Biden for a wreath-laying ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknowns in Arlington National Cemetery. Good reminder for all of us to take time out today to salute our men and women in uniform and those who have bravely served this country. We'll be back with hour number 3. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is Veterans Day 2013, November 11. That's what I wanted to say. Good morning and a happy Veterans Day. Hug a veteran today and take time to thank all of our and salute all of our men and women who have served this country proudly and are doing so today in uniform. Hello, everybody. It's the Bill Press Show. Thank you for joining us. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, all across this great land of ours on this Monday morning. Hope you had a good weekend and are ready to tackle the news of the day. And you can't do so without the help of a good friend, Indeed, in studio with us this morning, as a friend of Bill for this third hour together, Peter Fenn, Democratic strategist, looking very fit this morning.
Listen, I'm all ready to go. Am I a little casual on holiday?
Those of us who still have to work on a holiday like this.
I'd like to say I came in on a Harley with this jacket, but no, not quite.
If it were a black jacket, you could
there
say
you
that.
go.
Maybe,
there
right,
you go.
Indeed. And you join our team, Peter, this morning, as always. Peter Ogburn here.
Hey.
With Alicia Cruz. Got the phones covered. Hi, Alicia. And Cyprian Bolding has us looking good on that. We're coming. We keep reminding everybody we are a radio show on the local progressive talk radio stations all around the country, coast to coast, and people can also stream the show on our video stream at TawkrTV. It's youtube.com/TawkrTV. One of our favorite people, Peter, Ted Cruz.
Yes.
Now, made it big time. Chris Christie, whom we'll talk about a little later, is on the cover of Time magazine this week, but Ted Cruz made the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. If you think about somebody who's real fun for late night TV,
yeah,
Ted's the first person you think about.
Oh yeah,
right?
He's a barrel of laughs.
Oh yeah,
he?
Exactly. And Leno didn't seem quite to know how to handle him, and Cruz, I think, a fish out of water. Here's a little bit of their exchange.
They describe you as aggressive, arrogant, and abrasive. Accurate?
Well, I don't know that you can believe everything you read.
All right. Any one of those. Can you believe any one of those?
What I'm trying to do is do my job.
Oh, jeez. Boy, he's a real quick on the comeback.
Yeah, aggressive, arrogant, and what was the third one?
When you go on a show
abrasive,
like that,
abrasive. Yeah.
Every politician has to master that interview.
Right.
I mean, even Romney didn't do a terrible job when he did some of the late night shows, as stiff as a board as he was.
You got to loosen up, right? And you got to be able to poke fun at yourself. Ted Cruz.
It was awful.
And you should come in with some lines and some approaches that you can throw in at least. Because that makes you feel a little bit comfortable. But, I mean, this one he was like, well, I'm just trying to do my job. It's like, actually, you're not doing your job. You're shutting down the government. You're screwing up the government. You're doing a terrible job.
I think if he is to be, they say you're aggressive, arrogant, and abrasive. Is that true? And I'd probably say, and I'm a real a-hole too.
That's right.
I mean,
well, you can do the bleep.
Along.
You do the bleep, and you say, "I'm already." Do you guys bleep on this show?
Yeah, right.
I better be careful. You're real careful.
Yeah, we do bleep on this show. But oh god, what an embarrassment.
No.
Okay.
Well, he's look. The best line I saw on Ted Cruz was there is only one person who loves Ted Cruz more than Ted Cruz. Barack Obama. Keep him coming.
Yeah, good point. I like that. We got it. This reminds me of some other line I heard the other day, which I'll think of it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll think of it during the full court press. So Peter Fenn's here with us as a friend of Bill this entire hour, and then Kate Nocera will be joining us from BuzzFeed just a little bit later. She covers the Hill for BuzzFeed. But first, Peter gets a big headline.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a few other stories making news out there. So last week, Twitter filed for IPO, and that was a big news story. Here's how Twitter has changed politics. I find this to be fascinating. In the Senate, all 100 senators have Twitter accounts.
All 100.
All 100.
We know Chuck Grassley does.
Lord knows. In the House, 97% of House members have Twitter accounts. And if you go state by state, 49 out of 50 governors have Twitter accounts. The lone holdout, Wyoming. Their governor does not have a Twitter account.
Well, but that's amazing, isn't it?
It's stunning.
Not how big the program is, but how many people, elected officials, top elected officials have it.
And my sense of this is that if you look back, the staff was doing it. The staff was running the Twitter stuff, and they were getting themselves in trouble. So I think most of these folks now have taken control of it themselves. They're really doing it.
Yeah, a lot of them have.
We'll find out.
Bill and Peter, would you pay $176 for one drink, one cocktail?
Right. If I were thirsty enough.
What's in it?
Well, here, the Langham Place Hotel in New York City is hoping that someone's going to pay that kind of money for one drink. It's a new cocktail called the Quattro Port. It's $176. It's a cocktail made with Aperol, Amaro Nonino, Plymouth Gin, and it's stirred and then strained into a flute of Krug champagne.
No.
Now, that seems like a delicious drink, but where is the $176 price tag? That comes from what happens after you have the drink. You will then be escorted to a Maserati that is capable of going as fast as 176 miles per hour, and it will take you anywhere you want to go in Manhattan. That's why it's $176.
Can you imagine driving anywhere in Manhattan? You couldn't.
In a Maserati, you can't go over 10 miles an hour.
No, exactly. Yeah,
sort of wasted there.
It's a total waste.
And looking at the box office,
I have to tell you, I was in California over the weekend. Okay, I drove an Aston Martin. Okay,
it was nice.
Oh. Are you kidding? What a beautiful set of wheels. And that baby can go like 250 miles an hour. But you can't. I mean,
where?
Right. Where exactly?
You didn't take that car 250 miles per hour.
No, but I took it.
Go to Montana.
I took it close to 100.
Okay, there you go. And big weekend at the box office for superhero movie Thor, the Marvel sequel, Thor: The Dark World. Took the top spot for the weekend box office. They pulled in $86 million here at home. That's a big haul for early November. Meanwhile, Gravity continues to make moves. They pulled in about $8 million, and that puts them over the $230 million threshold that they've made since it's been out.
Ooh, how about that? All right. So I remembered
the line.
The line, yeah. You're talking about that was a good line about Ted Cruz. Right. The only one who loves him more than Ted Cruz himself is Barack Obama. Peter, you'll appreciate this too. I was reading this where somebody said that they always say that marijuana is a gateway drug, right?
Right.
It is. It's a gateway to the White House. Just ask Barack Obama. I thought one of the most significant things that nobody's talked about Tuesday is, of course, and we're going to talk about Virginia and New Jersey, but Portland, Maine, legalizing pot, you know? And now we've got Washington State, Colorado, and there was one other city, I forget, Lansing, Michigan maybe, or some other city.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, so you're seeing this happen at the state level and at the city level. People are just saying, come on, you know.
There's a certain libertarian move here, I think. And you see it, young people are just saying,
reaction
look,
to the war on drugs, which has proven to be such a bust.
Disaster. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For
it's just
so
not
long.
working.
Right.
And...
All right, so let's start in Virginia. Ken Cuccinelli, conservatives are saying, oh, yeah, he almost won.
Right.
What is the lesson out of Virginia?
Well, I think that a lot of us were thinking about this ahead of time, which was, is this going to resolve the great fight within the Republican Party?
Yes.
And that election day certainly did not. If you were a Tea Partier, and 40% now of Republicans are consider themselves Tea Partiers.
Is it that high?
In 2010, Bill, it was close to 70%. So now it's dropped. But they didn't even know. They were kind of caught up in the moment.
Know what the Tea Party
No. But now they've got it. But that's your question is the right one, because everybody says, oh, the Tea Party's dropping. Well, not within the Republican Party it isn't. This is a solid group of people. And one of the things that comes out of that is you had someone who was absolutely one of the worst candidates for governor that not only Virginia but most states have ever seen. And the guy did almost win this race. And it shows you how strong that vote is. And the other lesson, I think, which everybody ignores, they talk about Christie and they talk about Virginia. Look at that Alabama race.
Yes, Alabama.
52-48.
Right.
A very conservative state senator, very well liked, very solid. I mean, he's not a raving moderate, as they would say in Alabama. He's a very strong conservative. I mean, he almost gets beat by a guy who still says Obama was born in Kenya, that gays should move back to California, who buys the Tea Party line hook, line, and sinker, and he almost wins. And he's got nothing.
Isn't it also true that the Tea Party, you mentioned 2010, when the Tea Party started in 2010, it was a classic almost libertarian movement of anti-big government and Big Brother, right? Today, in the person of a Cuccinelli, at least my read is, the Tea Party's been taken over by social conservatives.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's no longer an economic message. It's really, they've become the anti-gay marriage, anti-abortion kind of wing of the party.
Right. And this is a litmus test party now. I mean, this is certainly amongst and if you look at who's going to vote and who's going to participate in these caucuses going into 2016, this is the Christie problem. Is it as bad as the Giuliani problem? Because he was pro-choice, he was socially very liberal. But even if you look at where, he says I'm pro-life. Well, how pro-life are you? Are you going to vote? Are you going to vote for intrusive procedures for women, as Cuccinelli was pushing? What how about 20 weeks? You want to prohibit abortions after 20 weeks? They're going to make him take stands on that. They're going to make him take stands on gay rights and gay marriage. Already, he's ticked off the Tea Partiers with his letting gay marriage happen in New Jersey.
In New Jersey, of
course.
Yeah.
And so
of course, this didn't let it happen.
But it was going to courts. But he wasn't fighting.
He backed out of the fight at the end when he knew he had lost.
And they're going to be mad at him.
Yeah.
So I think this notion that, and plus he's got a lot of other baggage, which the Democrats, by the way, were idiots. I mean, $4 to $5 million on TV helping this candidate. She wouldn't have won, but you would have said, wait a second, let's take a little bit of a look at Chris Christie. We're giving him the airwaves. We're giving him everything. We're letting him make his argument without any pushback, which we should not have done, I don't think. But I don't think he's the savior of the Republican Party.
No, I have to say, I think Barbara Buono is a great person with a great record, but you didn't even know she existed. No. You did not know there was a Democratic campaign against Chris Christie, right? In terms of what we saw on the airwaves or anything.
Right.
But so Chris Christie, he was asked yesterday, of course, the inevitable question everybody wants to, he's on the cover of Time magazine. What the hell? The elephant in the room, by the way, which has nothing to do with his size. He was asked about 2016. Here's the classic political duck.
I'm the governor of New Jersey. That's my job, and that's what I asked for 4 more years, and that's what I intend to do.
All 4 years?
Listen, who knows?
Who knows? Of course he's running. But people are saying he's got the Giuliani problem, and Rick Perry is saying, well, a Republican who wins in New Jersey can't win in Republican other states in the Republican primary. So whatever, it's certainly not going to be a walk for Christie if he goes. Do you think he can survive a primary battle?
I think there are a couple of questions about this. I think everybody says, look, if you've got 4 or 5 Tea Partiers in this race, Santorum gets back in, you've got a group of the crazies, and he looks just like semi-reasonable, and he looks like he has a chance at winning this thing. Could he eke out, not because he gets 50%, but he just happens to come out with 25-30% and wins these primaries. But I think he's going to get beaten up pretty bad by these folks. And the other thing is it's a winnowing out process. I mean,
Romney survived.
Well, exactly. Romney survived, and a lot of it
he was the least conservative of the bunch.
That's right.
Other than John Huntsman,
right? And Huntsman just never had the juice at all. But a lot of this, Bill, is the money. And that was one of the reasons that Romney. I mean, if you talk to John Brabender, who's a friend of mine who ran Santorum's campaign, still with Santorum, very bright guy, and John says, we could have won some of those primaries, but we just got buried. I mean, we were 20-1 in negative ads. We couldn't compete in these states, and my sense is that's the advantage that Christie would have. I mean, the money folks are going to go to him, I would think.
All right, when we come back, Peter, I've got to ask you about something that started to concern me about our side of the equation for 2016, which is a lot of Democrats are saying it's already decided. Hillary's going to be our nominee, so just start giving her money and just don't worry about it. I think that might be making a mistake. Peter Fenn will get his comments on the other side here, and yours at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 25 minutes after the hour here. Peter Fenn's here as a friend of Bill. Peter, I got to tell you, I just saw it out there on MSNBC on the monitor, and I talked about it a little bit earlier in the program. The story that fascinates me most this morning is that Amazon is going to start delivering packages 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And the way they were able to do Sunday deliveries is they made a deal with the Postal Service. And they're going to use postal employees, mailmen, mailwomen, right? Whatever. And trucks and trains and planes and whatever to deliver Amazon packages.
I think it's absolutely terrific. I mean, you know,
bring a lot of money, more money to the post office.
Brings a lot of that around.
Yeah,
to you.
yeah.
And most of us have signed up for the free delivery. So I order like crazy from Amazon.
So do I.
And I love it. And you know, the interesting thing, my wife was talking to the postal carrier on a Saturday one day, and he's bringing all these huge stacks of catalogs.
Yeah.
And she's kind of apologizing to him. She's saying, God, I'm really sorry that we have all these catalogs. And he says, hey, It keeps us in business. It keeps me working. I love it. No problem. And this will be great for them. They'll say, oh, my God, bring it on.
No, this is great.
I'll work.
All right. Now, just a question about this this coronation of Hillary Clinton this early in the game. And I love her, and I supported her in 2008 over Barack Obama. But aren't we making a mistake to crown her and kind of try to push everybody else aside?
Well, it's very interesting. If I were her, I'd be a little nervous about it myself, because this is kind of like deja vu all over again.
It sure is.
And this is something that you have to fight for. You have to have a game plan. You can't take anything for granted. We're in an era where people do come out of the woodwork, and things do happen. I assume she's going to run. I mean, I have absolutely no knowledge of the inner workings, but she's acting a bit like a candidate. But look, everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Everybody has pluses and minuses, and they're going to come after her. I mean, the greatest thing that I love is Fox News, for example. Oh my God, during the Obama period, the Clintons could do no wrong. Isn't it wonderful? Bill Clinton was such a great president. Of course, when Bill Clinton was president, they went after he and Hillary like crazy every damn day. Well, you're going to see the same thing. They're going to turn on her. The folks are going to go after her with a vengeance.
Right. They want her. They're on this bandwagon now too, right? They want her to be the nominee because they can't wait to try to destroy her.
Ratings. I mean, what's better? Terrible, ridiculous.
All right. Congress comes back in session this week. The House and the Senate. What can we expect? Kate Nocera from Buzzfeed's got all the answers.
This
she joins us
is
next.
the Bill Press Show. on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, happy Veterans Day 2013. Here we go. November 11, it's the Bill Press Show. It's a work day for us, but we salute all of our veterans, those who have served, those who are now serving in uniform. And we're tackling the issues of the day, taking a look now at what we can expect here on Capitol Hill, if anything, this week. Peter Fenn here as a friend of Bill this entire hour, Democratic strategist, and we're joined by Kate Nocera, who covers the Hill for Buzzfeed. Another work day for us, right?
That's right. No days off.
Nice to see you, Kate.
Nice to see you, too. How are you?
Thank you for being here. We're just talking about by the way, I should point out, too, that our program this morning is brought to you by the American Federation of Teachers, good men and women of the AFT. We salute our teachers of America as well, making a difference every day in the classrooms of America under President Randy Weingarten. You bet. You can find out more about their good work at aft.org. Kate, Congress is coming back. The House comes back tomorrow night. The Senate was here last week. They're still here. What can we expect to happen this week? What important piece of legislation are they going to pass this week?
I don't know.
Nothing, right?
I don't think a whole lot's going to get done.
All right, so what the Senate did last week, it passed a historic vote 17 years after they first tackled just ending discrimination in the workplace against people who happen to be gay or lesbian.
Right.
17 years later, they finally got it right. They passed that historic legislation, big bipartisan vote, and sent it over to the House. Are we going to see action on ENDA?
No, we're not. John Boehner said he doesn't believe that this is actually would change anything. He thinks that the law would, in fact, inspire more lawsuits, although there's no evidence to prove that at all. And
zero evidence.
A confusing point, too, was he said he already believed that this was codified into law, which is not accurate. There are 20-something states that still don't have these protections for gay, lesbian, and transgendered people. So it's not going anywhere. Democrat Jared Polis said that he believes if ENDA came to the House floor for a vote, it would pass, like so many other things that we've seen come out of the Senate that would have the majority of Democrats and probably pick up, 40 to 50 Republicans as well. He legitimately thinks there are that many Republicans who would vote for it, even though there aren't that many co-sponsors. It's hard, there are enough Republicans from districts where this would be a bad thing to vote no on.
Yeah. So, Peter, politically, why would Boehner do this?
I think it's absolute idiocy. You have seen in the Senate a lot of these folks who've been there a while change their minds, change their votes. Orrin Hatch, John McCain. Yeah. Obviously, you have a similar situation in the House with Republicans. I think Kate's absolutely right. And what you're doing is you're solidifying the notion that you are the anti-gay, anti-woman, anti-immigrant party. Now, this is a dead stone loser. For Republicans.
Also, in this case, the business community supports ENDA. Right. So they're not. Who are they pissing off other than the extreme right-wing Christian conservatives?
The amazing thing was, though, Bill, is that last week in the Senate there was only one Republican that went to the floor to speak out about this, to speak against it. I mean, it was not like with immigration, at least there is a block of Republicans in the Senate who are very much against the immigration bill.
Was it Michael Lee?
No, it was Dan Coates from Indiana. So
really? Which is odd.
Mike Lee didn't talk out about it.
Yeah.
Senator Cruz didn't talk about it. I actually asked Jeff Sessions if he had planned on, he's a very vocal guy on a lot of stuff, including on social issues, and he said, "No, I don't."
Particularly on constitutional issues, he is too.
I don't speak out on 90% of the bills, and I have no plans to. And then he ended up not even voting, so he missed he was there that day, but missed the vote, and I haven't gotten an explanation as to why he did not vote in that bill. So, who knows?
So again, politically, I don't understand it. But if there's going to be no action on ENDA, then we have to assume. I mean, I go to the White House every day, and every day I hear Jay Carney say that we believe that the Senate and the House in the end are going to do the right thing, and we will have comprehensive immigration reform by the end of the year. And I keep saying, what are you smoking? Right? Seriously, if they're not going to do they're not going to do immigration reform.
There are like 7 or 8 days left, right?
Well, there are a lot more than that, but
of work days
that they have scheduled, which is another outrage.
Right.
We have this supposed budget conference, which needs to come up with something to
let's
appropriate.
Not forget that's going on. Right.
Minor little
I mean,
thing.
I guess it's going on. I don't know if it's going on, really.
No, that's a good point. I mean, what do we know about that, right?
Not a lot. Everyone I've talked to who's on the budget conference has said we're not looking at any kind of big deal. We just need to get through the next couple months to try and figure something out so we can have the room to do a big deal, which is something we've heard, right, for the last 3 years. We need something with teeth in it. We need to, but all I see from my point of view, having done this a couple times, is we're just going to do another short-term something that everyone will hate or will do nothing at all and run up against the January and February deadlines. But yes, the budget conference is going on theoretically, and that is something that needs to get done. Immigration reform, even one of the top Republicans who's a supporter of immigration reform, Mario Diaz-Balart, said last week it's not going to happen. And the majority whip also said it's not going to happen this year. And so then we're in January, we have these crises, and then it's campaign season. Then it's silly season again.
So let's go back to the politics of it, Peter, which is that after November 2012, so many leading Republicans said we got our ass whipped, kicked, by the Latinos in this election. Obviously, I mean, Lindsey Graham said we'll never win the White House again unless we do immigration reform. Here we are a year later.
Right.
And who's blocking it? Republicans
and
are
it's
blocking
interesting
it.
because, Boehner was very careful in this initially. He said, we want to do legislation. We want to do specific bills. We want to do a step-by-step on this. Well, there is no step-by-step. There is no strategy in terms of other than cracking down on immigration. Yeah. So the real question I think for the Republicans is not just that they have this standing in the doorway approach, but that they're hardlining it, and they're making immigrants and Hispanics even angrier with an election coming up.
The problem is that there are a number of Republicans who represent districts that are increasingly Latino, and they've started to sign on to the Democrats' bill in the House in order to try and put pressure on House leadership to say, look, we're really serious about this. You are probably going to cost us our seat if you don't do something. Republican Jeff Denham from California, his district is something like 40% Latino. Mike Kaufman from Colorado, who was a hardliner on immigration and has, since his district has changed with his district. He hasn't signed on to the Democrats' bill yet, but there are a number of Republicans who are looking at this and starting to freak out and really trying to convince leadership that something actually has to be done in the next, 2 weeks, but it's not looking good for them.
So I'm going to come back to something you said earlier. So nothing on ENDA, nothing on immigration reform, maybe very little bit coming out of the Budget Committee, which gets back to that the House has only 7 or 8 more work days scheduled in 2013, even though we are only November the 11th, right? And you and all of us have a lot more work days scheduled than that, and everybody watching and listening does too. Maybe we ought to have there's a minimum wage bill. Maybe we ought to have a minimum work bill for members of the House.
Right.
I mean, how can they get away with this 2 days a week at most and do nothing?
Well, they wouldn't say that they're doing nothing. They're definitely. I mean, they're
holding hearings. They're holding hearings on Benghazi. They're holding hearings on IRS. They're holding hearings.
They're voting to repeal Obamacare.
There you go again.
And I guess if you stick by Boehner's definition of progress, which is how many bills, but no, I want to change that. Even if you stick by his definition, how many bills we've repealed, that's a sign of progress. How many bills have they even repealed? They haven't repealed anything or passed anything
this year.
right?
I mean, the stuff that they've passed this year has passed with a bipartisan majority. Yeah, it's been with Democrats. But the interesting something I thought that was interesting last week when I was reading in Roll Call an interview with Pete Sessions, who's the chairman of the Rules Committee, in which he basically admits that everything that the House is trying to do is trying to put pressure on the Senate in a messaging bill, essentially, to put pressure on the Senate in order to help win back the Senate. I don't remember the quote exactly, but it was something along those lines. So
this is sort of
we're already in political season. I mean, we had about 6 months of kumbaya. Maybe we should do something big and get immigration reform done, and that ended really quickly.
Well, I mean,
quick comment, Peter. Then we have to take
real
a break.
Quick. I was just going to say that they're content with gridlock because they think Obamacare is their ticket. They think they'll get the Senate back because of Obamacare, pure and simple.
God,
scary.
We're back in political season. The problem is we are never out of the political season. Seriously, I think that. And we'll talk about that more when we come back here with Kate Nocera and Peter Fenn and you at 866-55-PRESS. We'll find a seat for you at the table. Join us.
This is the Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 12 minutes before the top of the hour here on Monday morning. November 11, with Peter Fenn as a friend of Bill and Kate Nocera. She's a friend of Bill, too.
I'm a friend.
Here,
I don't think we're not friends.
That's right.
Yeah.
From BuzzFeed,
one way to
put it. Covering Capitol Hill. Kate, during the break, I found this exact quote by Pete Sessions, which is very significant, I think. Again, he's very powerful, chairman of the House Rules Committee. And he said, Peter, quote, he told Roll Call in an interview last Thursday, everything we do in this body should be about messaging to win back the Senate. That's it.
That's pretty clear, right?
Pretty clear. I mean, it reminds me very, very much of Mitch McConnell's statement, right, which is everything we do should be about preventing President Obama from winning a second term. He said that the first year of the first term.
And the American people really like this. That's the kind of talk that they really identify with, right? Right. We don't care about getting anything done. We don't want to do anything on these critical issues. It's all about the politics.
So we send senators and representatives to Washington to do nothing but screw around and try to block what the other party is all about, which is not, I think, the way most Americans see the job. Maybe that's why they have a 12% approval rating, right?
9
or lower. But
it hovers around 9 or 10, I think, at this point. Yeah.
But coming back to what you were saying about this, it's a constant political season. I mean, I do think that's the problem. And there was a time, some of us old enough to remember, when you had elections, you fought like hell, and then after the election, both sides got down to work and said, okay, what are the problems facing this country, and how can we come together to fix them? I mean, those were the days of a Tip O'Neill, right? Or a Bob Dole.
Right.
Or even a Trent Lott, as recent as that. When did it change?
I don't know.
Well, my sense is that what you had was...
Because now it's nonstop politics.
You had basically
nonstop.
You had the evisceration of the moderates in the Republican Party. So that
but
they
also
were
in the
marginalized.
Democratic Party.
And, well, here's what I was going to say, is that
is
it because you had Southern Democrats, many of whom a lot of us did not like much, but they were moderate Democrats. They were very strongly, forget the racial side of this stuff, which was pretty awful, but they were moderates on fiscal issues. They were very much balanced budget people. Even Jimmy Carter was a Mr. Balanced budget when he was running and when he was president. So, but then what happened, of course, is the Republicans took over the South. There were never after about 1978 any moderate liberal Republicans elected in the Northeast. But the furtherance of this was Ronald Reagan, who everybody considered the sort of hardcore conservative, now looks very much like a moderate conservative compared to this crowd. And they've governed the party.
I mean, he used to make deals on and did on almost every issue, from spending to abortion, to taxes and across
and
the
the
board.
social conservatives, as you point out, Bill, they took over. We got now 40% of the Republicans who identify with the Tea Party, and these are the ones who vote in primaries. These are the ones who elect these. I have to say, it's the crazy caucus.
Have you had any conversations, Kate, with Lindsey Graham about Benghazi?
Not recently, but I did see that he was on television yesterday defending his position that he was going to block any of the president's appointments until they made witnesses available to Congress.
He took that position after 60 Minutes reported on this one witness who said it was just the opposite of what the administration is saying. I was there, and I picked up a gun and hit a terrorist in the head. I climbed the wall, and I saw the ambassador dead and all that kind of stuff. Now, it turns out he was lying. 60 Minutes has admitted they published the lie. They've apologized last night. So they say, the story that their story is wrong, which means that the story that Lindsey Graham used as an excuse for blocking the appointments is wrong. And then yesterday, Lindsey Graham said, yeah, but I'm not changing. 60 Minutes may apologize. I'm not changing my mind.
Yeah, he still feels like the administration is trying to block sending witnesses to Congress. I think Lindsey Graham has a tough primary to get through. And that's what we're seeing right now. I mean, he took a lot of hits for his work on immigration reform. He just introduced the 20-week abortion ban in the Senate last week. I mean, Lindsey Graham is doing a lot of stuff right now to make very clear that he is the most conservative in South Carolina and to win this primary.
Does he have a serious challenge Peter?
I think South Carolina is very shaky. I mean, I think you can never predict this. And I think Kate's absolutely right. He's just trying to buffer his right flank. He's trying to put himself out as the anti-Obama. Any notion that, look, we saw it with Mike Lee's election. And if you compromise with Democrats, if you have any kind of relationship with Democrats, you're in trouble in these places. And, he did a lot of stuff with Hillary Clinton. That is going to be an ads against him in South Carolina.
And an immigrant, Lindsey Graham is so fun. When you talk to him, he'll have like come from the White House and been like, we had the best meeting with Obama. And then the next day, he's like, I hate the president and I hate everything about it. So, he has a lot of stuff to balance there.
A little schizophrenic.
I got to tell you, I don't envy you having to cover these people up close and personal.
It's never boring, Bill.
I'm sure it's not boring. Thanks, Kate, for coming in.
Thank you.
Peter, always good to have you here. Great friend. Thank you. And I'll be back with a parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, so what happens when the media starts playing politics with the truth? Well, we found out with 60 Minutes. Yep, it is by far 60 Minutes, the most respected news program on television, the source of breaking news and explosive interviews since its creation in 1968. 45 years of excellent journalism until October 27, when CBS got sucked in by Republican propagandists because, for a whole year now, Instead of blaming terrorists for the attack on our consulate in Benghazi, Republicans in Congress have been playing politics and trying to blame President Obama or Hillary Clinton. Unfortunately, 60 Minutes took the bait. Last week, Lara Logan reported on one witness who said he raced to the scene and personally observed the lack of security. Turns out he was lying. He told a totally different story to the FBI. CBS fell for it. Shame on them. Let Republicans, the lesson here is, let Republicans play politics with Benghazi. It's the media's job to tell the truth. Shame on CBS. My parting shot for today, folks, have a great Veterans Day. Thank a veteran, hug a veteran. Come back and see us again tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.